First, the finger was pointed at Ukraine, then anonymous, now it's some Egyptian college student accused of DDoSing X. Also in your hacking news roundup, Apple spawned some lawyers and Kim Jong-un has been banned from ChatGPT. But first, where did the DDoS attack on X really come from?
IP addresses originating in the Ukraine area.
If true, this wouldn't be surprising. A lot of cybercriminal activity comes from former Soviet states, including Ukraine. But a researcher who analysed the attack said that Ukrainian IPs weren't even in the top 20 countries attacking X. So let's put the Ukraine theory to one side, because there's a much more credible theory. Anonymous is back. Merely hours into the attack, opdreadnought.com spawned, saying it was taking the fight to the Republican Party, MAGA, Trump and Musk. The site doesn't directly claim to be behind the DDoS, but the timing was suspicious enough to make Operation Dreadnought a leading theory for the attack on Reddit and even X itself. But whilst it is easy to sound impressive by donning an anonymous mask and coming up with a mysterious sounding operation name, honestly there's nothing of interest here. Just a website plastered with some quotes, probably made by someone with a spare VPS, just attempting to exploit the situation for a little attention. And a bad attempt at that. In a previous version of the website, they hadn't even spelt fascism properly. And funnily enough, someone tried to capitalise on this attention grab by creating an Operation Dreadnought meme coin, though it doesn't seem to have performed very well. But then came Dark Storm Team, a hacker group which did directly claim responsibility for the attack on X. These guys have been around for a little over a year, they sell DDoSing services, hacked accounts, but they also dabble in pro-Palestinian hacktivism, occasionally booting off the government websites of NATO countries. But none of this is all that impressive. We see this kind of thing quite often, and really there's very little to differentiate Dark Storm Team from other low-level cybercriminal and quasi-hacktivist groups. But then again, it's not often that low-level hackers are able to take out one of the world's most visited websites. So how is this possible? Twitter uses Cloudflare to mitigate DDoS attacks, though according to researchers who spoke to Wired, some X servers just weren't properly secured behind Cloudflare, enabling attackers to directly DDoS those servers using a botnet thought to be made up of hacked security cameras and DVRs, causing some connectivity issues. Okay, so who's behind Dark Storm Team? A security researcher, Robert Baptiste, did some OSINT. Starting with the group's Telegram and Twitter profiles, he strung together a whole web of links between various social media accounts and crypto addresses, eventually landing on some Egyptian college kid, tagging Elon Musk, saying that his DMs are open. And it looks like Elon might have actually slid into his DMs, because the researcher's very next tweet came from within the DOJ itself. What a day. This all got millions of views on X, but not before his findings turned out to be somewhat wrong. That Egyptian college kid apparently didn't have anything to do with this, a claim that the researcher did accept. However, he has caught quite a bit of flack for seemingly not issuing an apology. So the question of who's behind Dark Storm Team is still a totally unanswered question, but our OSINT researcher points out that he's not totally convinced they're even the ones who launched the attack. So I guess the saga continues. Next up, Tim Apple has summoned his lawyers to the UK over our government forcing him to disable advanced data protection. Real quick recap, the UK government, like many governments, are unhappy that end-to-end encryption makes it impossible for law enforcement to grab your data. Usually it's encrypted messaging apps that are on the chopping block, but our politicians have put that crusade on hold whilst they go after our iCloud backups, in particular Apple's advanced data protection feature, which simply enables end-to-end encryption. And so a few weeks ago, our politicians dusted off a controversial set of laws to issue a secret order, something called a technical capability notice, in order to force Apple to make them a backdoor capable of circumventing this feature. But that secret order was leaked, causing what was meant to be dealt with by secret courts in private to become a national issue. And it wasn't long till Apple compromised, turning off advanced data protection for all users here in the UK. Now, when you go to this feature in the settings, this is what you see. The new news is that Apple has decided to fight this, filing a complaint with the Investigatory Powers Tribunal, which will decide if that technical capability notice is even legal. It's not like it's the job of these guys to determine whether this is even a good idea, just whether the government is acting legally. But no one knows how this is going to turn out, because we don't have anything to compare this case to. We're really breaking new legal ground here, and there's a good chance that unless someone leaks the outcome, we might not even know how this ends. Because unlike countries such as the US, which for better or worse have a very transparent legal process, it generally doesn't work that way here. This case will be held in secret for reasons of national security. Depressing, sure, but here in Britain we're kinda used to it. Whether it's our politicians, the weather, or the price of a Freddo, there's usually something to be disappointed about. But there is some humour to be found. This is the UK's National Cybersecurity Centre's website, which has a page on security tips for the legal profession. Isn't it funny that up until 5 minutes ago, the UK government themselves was advising people to use encryption? On iOS, that means advanced data protection. Though since Apple was forced to disable the feature, this URL now redirects to a page defending democracy, which just gives some very general security advice. For our next story, Kim Jong-un has just gone and gotten himself banned from ChatGPT, or at least his hacker henchmen have. OpenAI reveals the news in their February threat intelligence report, alongside allegations that North Korean hackers are really quite a big fan of ChatGPT. And funnily enough, in some sense, their use of it really doesn't differ much from the rest of us, mainly using the tool for coding assistance and debugging, along with researching security-related open source code. The report provides more specific examples, with malicious remote desktop connections being a running theme, but the North Koreans have also used it to craft phishing emails and construct social engineering campaigns targeting the crypto industry, news that won't surprise anyone at all. But how did they link this activity to North Korea? Kim's hacker henchmen made a very silly OPSEC mistake. The actor revealed staging URLs for binaries that appeared to be unknown to security vendors at the time. In other words, the North Korean hackers left links to their own malware in the code that they were pasting into ChatGPT. A rookie mistake. Now, there's various North Korean hacking groups out there, but in this case, OpenAI claims to have linked the activity to the work of Kimsuki, which focuses on espionage and intelligence gathering, and APT38, which specializes in financial crime and crypto theft. But these guys don't just use ChatGPT for coding assistance and phishing emails. OpenAI reckons it's also used to enable North Korea's infamous illegal IT worker schemes. These involve North Koreans applying for remote working jobs in the US, and apparently it's done with resumes, online job profiles and cover letters created with ChatGPT. But it doesn't stop there. These schemes require accomplices, US citizens willing to receive laptops from employers and set them up in their basement so that North Koreans can VPN into them, making it look like they're working stateside. Now, from previous cases, we know that North Korea recruits their accomplices on LinkedIn, and we now know that those job application posts have also been made using ChatGPT. But now that they're banned, Kim's hacker henchmen will have to find an alternative. But it's not like that'll be too tricky. There's plenty of open source options out there, and it's not like they don't have the cash for a nice little local setup. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Have a good one.